Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September Hangout. I can see already we've got people in the chat room, which is great to see. And, well, hopefully everything's working okay. So if you can let me know that everything's functioning well, that'd be fantastic. Today, I'm going to be looking through some of Magnus Carlsen's games from the Isle of Man tournament. I'm really looking forward to that. Because you know these are just wonderful games. Magnus looks like he's on great form again, which is good to see. And well, the Isle of Man tournament is just a very exciting event altogether. So anyway, welcome everyone, and of course this will be available to watch live, not live. This will be available on the Power Play Chess channel afterwards. But I'm very glad to see people here watching live. And if you have any questions, then please do fire away. But first of all, I want to set a little puzzle. And this was a game from the Isle of Man tournament. So just bear with me while I switch screens. So hopefully this is all working okay. There we go. You should be able to see screen in front of you. Yep, there we go. And this is going to thrill everyone in the subcontinent because it's a game of Vichy's. Yeah, greetings, Jeff, in Los Angeles. Greetings, Sushan Acharya from Nepal. Well, that's very exotic. Fantastic. Riaz Ali says he went to the Isle of Man a few years ago, stayed in Douglas for a couple of days. Really enjoyed it. Do you know what? I've never been to the Isle of Man. Anyway, here is your first puzzle position. It's white play. As you can see, Vichy has a very nice position. Vichy with the white pieces. He's got an extra pawn, which is no bad thing. Kinetic static from the tip of Africa, Cape Town. Fantastic. We're covering, so far we're covering 3 different continents, 4 if you count Europe. That's brilliant. We just need someone from South America. And maybe Australia as well. Anyway, it's white play. What did Vichy play here? Of course, he's got a lovely position. There's more than one way to win. But what did Vichy come up with? Here's your first puzzle, guys. It's all gone very quiet. Yeah, you're going to have to use your brain. So what would you do here with white? Over to you, guys. This is the easiest of all the positions. I'm going to... Kanan Namas is in Dubai. Fantastic. Yeah, well, we're really got a global, and Vietnam. Fantastic. I love it. I do. I know it's really corny, but I really love it when we get people from all over the world. I'm bringing people together. Fantastic. Dubai, Vietnam, South Africa, Nepal, Los Angeles, absolutely superb. And even from Paris as well. Paul Peitner, very glad to hear you. And the People's Republic of Cornwall, yeah, very good. And Gabe from LA. We've got 2 from LA. It's Pierre from Paris, yeah, fantastic. And we got 2 from LA now. Okay, well, it's white play. Kinetic static says and Dmitry Mikhailov from St. Petersburg. Yeah, fantastic. You hear a few slurps of tea. Too right, Gabe. You hear a few slurps. Jacob Kahn asks, are you the new singer in Led Zepp? I don't think the position is vacant. I think Bob Plant seems to be still the singer, so no, I'm not. Love to be. Taking on c4, someone suggested. Afraid not. White wins a piece. We've got queen g5 suggested. Not quite sure what that's doing. e6 suggested. Hari Ram is from Chennai. Yeah, Hari. Fantastic. Okay, let's go with e6. That's exactly what Vishy played. Your man Vishy. Okay, Hari, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to throw it over to you. You're the man from Chennai. What did your man Vishy do in this position? What did Vishy play next? Just for Hari Ram, because he's from Chennai. What you going to do next? Piarsili from Milan, no, Italy. Do you know what? Piarsili, I was in Milan in the summer. I enjoyed visiting very much. Beautiful place. I really enjoyed visiting, well, all beautiful buildings, but beautiful churches. Just wonderful. And I was near Porta Romana, and they had a wonderful swimming baths there in Porta Romana. That saved us because it was so hot. Anyway, listen, Hari, I'm waiting for Hari Ram to answer my question. What did Vishy do next? You should know, Hari Ram. You're from Chennai. You're tuned in to your man Vishy. What's he gonna do next? Hari Ram's gone very quiet. I'm afraid. Hari Ram, he comes back in the nick of time. He's played knight f6. Fantastic. That's what Vishy played, you see. There's a cosmic vibe going on. He's tuned in. It's the Chennai vibe. Okay, so Hari, what happens if king h8? Come on, Hari, you can do this. What does your man Vishy do now? Oh, Hari's under pressure. Yeah, too right. He's under a lot of pressure. Come on, get that Chennai vibe going. What did Vishy do next? Come on, man, you can do it. Come on, Hari. Go, Hari, go. Go on. Oh, Jacob, you just spoilt it. Please. Yeah, rook d7, that's the idea. Oh, what a disappointment. Party pooper. Okay, queen h6, check, threatened, followed by rook h7 mate. Dearie me. I'm very disappointed at all of you spoilers. If I pick somebody out, just keep quiet. Okay, this is the game continuation, and now the queen is in. So Vishy has basically just wrecked the king position. Ah, now he took. Okay, and here he took some pawns. And then here, well, okay, what did he do next? That's okay, Hari. I know you got the vibe. Okay, Hari, over to you again. Over to you again, Hari. No pressure. What did Vishy do now? Let's get the Chennai vibe going. Come on, you can do it. Riaz Ali asks, are you drunk? Is that if you're referring to me, well, I don't know. I might overdose on green tea, but I think that's about it. Okay. Well, if you play, of course, we want to play rook here. But then something nasty. Well, it's not so clear. Not so clear if you play rook d7 because we give a little check. And then the king comes up. And then we give another little check. And then the king's probably gonna go back again and could be a draw. because I think if you go forwards, then something nasty might happen. We could try, whoops, not that one. Queen c1. Starting to look a bit suspicious. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. So no, it's not rook d7. Sorry. Steve 065 in Birmingham. I am looking at games from the Isle of Man. That's what I'm looking at right now this evening. All the games are going to be from the Isle of Man. So instead of that, instead of rook d7, yes, everyone's got it. Instead of rook d7, actually Vichy just took on a3 first, and that deflects the queen. This, in fact, black resigned in this position, deflects the queen, and now rook d7 is an utter killer because check gets you nowhere because the king is completely safe. And then on the next turn, one of these moves is going to be a killer. Fantastic. So there we go. We got through our first puzzle. Sorry, Harry Ram, if I put you under too much pressure there, but I thought, well, you got the first one. The Chennai vibe was working there. You got e6. So there we go. That was Vichy, who was playing in the Isle of Man tournament. I'm going to Sushan Acharya asked me, who's my favorite player? Oh my goodness. Do you mean currently or do you mean in chess history? What do you mean, Sushan Acharya? My current favorite player or in chess history? Yeah, well said, Kinetic Static. Good sport, Harry. I was teasing, but you took it well. Sushan Acharya. Oh, both. Oh, it's such a difficult question currently. Golly. Okay, this is off the top of my head because I like so many different players, and there are so many interesting styles of chess being played out there. But off the top of my head, I really like the games of Bahadur Jabava. I think he's such an exciting player because he can play brilliant endgames, you know, really beautiful technique, but also he can play very unexpected attacks. He's really creative. So yeah, I like Bahadur. I like the spirit that he plays chess in. So there we go, of the current players. Of players in chess history, too difficult, just too difficult. You know, I like that. I like Capablanca, and a lot of that is to do with his style, not just his style on the chessboard, but his style in life. You know, he was well dressed, he was charming, he had an eye for the ladies. You know, we like that. That's good. You know, there's the old story that he was taken to a show, I think in London, and Alekin was there as well. I don't know whether it was in London, I can't remember. It's an apocryphal story, but Alekin was analysing on his chess set during the show, and Capablanca was looking at the legs of the chorus girls. I'm with Capablanca. There you go. Guest informant asks, was the World Cup final an anticlimax? And if so, what could you do to avoid that? I think it was a little bit of an anticlimax. Yeah, I agree. Because the real prize was getting into the candidates. However, I still think they should have a final. That's one thing. But I just don't think it should be 4 games. I think they should just stick to 2 games. You know, it's still not bad having World Cup final winner on your CV and extra prize money. So they're still playing for something. But I just think it should be 2 games and just continue the format. I don't see the point of having 4 games. And if you had just a, you know, rapid play tiebreak to decide the final, I think that would diminish the value of the title. So I think they should just have 2 games. Very simple. You know, why not? Mike Taylor asks, will we see you at Olympia later in the year at the final of the chess tour? I hope I'll be there as a commentator. That's all I can say. Who's my favourite British GM and why? Oh, golly. I like so many of the British chess, but I mean, you know, I like the top players, Michael Adams, Nigel Short. They have very interesting style, very contrasting styles. From the past, I really like Tony Miles. He was someone I looked up to as a chess professional. He was so adventurous. He really went for it. Very ambitious player, very creative on the chessboard. So there we go, Tony Miles. Okay, and Spielman. Well, there's so many interesting chess players in England. Right, I'm going to show you, before we go any further, I'm going to show you another position. And then later on, I want to look at a game of Magnus Carlsen. So without further ado, this shouldn't take you too long. If you've seen it already, don't bother tuning in. But here's your next position. So let me just share the screen. Here we go. So this is from Magnus Carlsen's second round game at the Isle of Man tournament. Carlsen is black. He has rook and 2 knights against rook and knight and a bishop. There's only 2 pawns on the board, but actually Magnus has it all under control. What did Magnus do now in this position? If you've seen the game, then don't bother. But yeah, just for your entertainment, what would you play here with black? What did Magnus Carlsen play next in this position? Oh, it's all gone quiet again. Who'd like to try and channel the spirit of Magnus Carlsen? Okay, we've had 2 suggestions for knight g4, 3 suggestions for knight g4. The problem with knight g4 is, what happens if and I understand you want to play rook h2, but what happens if I just advance the king here? This is the problem. So I'm afraid knight g4 isn't working. We've had Dmitry Mikhailov wants to play knight e4, so does Gabe, wants to play, and so does Jubair Sadiq. Okay, let's go with knight e4. Good move. And after that move, in fact, Magnus's opponents resigned. Well done, those who suggested knight e4. I told you it wouldn't last very long. Basic idea is, well, let me put a random move on the board. Rook here, then knight g5 check here, knight f3 check, and now rook h2 is working. Or if the king advances, then rook h2. Gabe, Granite Jr. Ha! Fantastic. And after knight e4, there is no decent defense to knight g5, actually. It's very interesting. It just kills the game. I mean, you can play in this position instead of rook b7. You can play g4, but then, for example, rook e3 check, and, well, we just take a knight, and all is good there. And that's very easy with an extra piece. Well done, folks. Okay, we're back again on screen. Let me take a couple more questions. Then what I'm going to do is I will look at one of Magnus's games from the Isle of Man tournament. If you don't know, then Magnus is playing there at the moment. He drew his game today against Vidit, Not such an interesting game, but Magnus is in the lead with 6 out of 7. And I believe he's a point clear of the field. So with 2 rounds to go, he's looking pretty good. Abhishek Singh asks, are there any players in history who really hate each other, like Kramnik and Topalov? Absolutely. There were many players who have a terrible rivalry. Korchnoi and Karpov, Alex 37292 mentions, well, many of Korchnoi's opponents hated each other. Alikin and Capablanca detested each other, absolutely detested each other, for example. Don't think Botvinnik got on very well with Bronstein. Well, guest informant says Fischer and any Russian. Well, that's not quite true, guest informant. On a personal level, Fischer actually quite liked the Russians. Fischer got on very well with Spassky. They were friends. And Fischer also got on extremely well with Tal, for example. So it was more the system that Fischer disliked. Now, this is a very good question. Riaz Ali asks, why is it that in the UK it's still only Short who's managed to reach the World Chess Championship final? Are British chess players doing something wrong? This is a really big question, but in short, I think it's to do with chess education. It's to do with economics. It's not easy to survive as a chess player in Britain. But you know, it's to do with background as well. It's a whole host of things. I mean, you know, Short and Adams are absolutely brilliant players, but yeah, only Short got to a final. Well, let me take an example of some players who are just under those. So, for example, Luke McShane, incredibly talented player, but also a very talented person in life. And you know, he works in the City of London, and he has a very successful job there and earns a very good living. And you know, it's a huge gamble just being a professional chess player. You also have to like the lifestyle, and that's not always easy. So, you know, there are simply more opportunities here in other fields. So you can have a successful career in Britain, and you don't have to risk so much being a professional chess player. Whereas, for example, other parts of the world, well, you know, it's less of a gamble to be a chess player. That's what I mean by economics, Jürgen Beckers. Yeah, Alan managed. When I said in short, that was purely a pun, not intended. Okay, I'm going to show you, without further ado, a game of Magnus Carlsen's. Let me just rearrange windows. Wait a second, guys, while I just get the right window ahead of me. Just bear with me, folks. Okay, here we go. So, listen, if you could just hold off on the questions for the time being, and I'm going to take you through Magnus Carlsen's first round game from the Isle of Man tournament. I thought this was very impressive. So here we go. Magnus was white. He's playing against Bardur Orn Birkisson, who I would guess is an Icelandic player. And it's interesting that well, his opponent is rated way below him, only 2164, but still. See you, Gabe. Bye now. You can catch up with it later. But it's interesting that against these weaker players, Magnus just often plays very straightforward classical openings. So it's rare that we see Magnus playing a mainline Nimzo Indian. But that's what he does here, absolutely classically. Bishop d3, and black plays one of the main lines. This is a very respectable system with d5. So this was taken, and knight e5. Again, Magnus doesn't mess around here. He's just playing in a really straightforward way, plonking his knight on the outpost and supporting it with f4. So we have nice pawn formation here, supporting that knight on e5. So this is the so-called Pillsbury pawn formation, supporting the knight on e5, very common in many d4 openings. For example, from the Queen's Gambit, and first played by Harry Nelson Pillsbury at the end of the 19th century. Knight e4, I don't know whether black needs to play knight e4 here. It feels slightly premature to me. Looks to me stronger just to play c5 and to wait at rents. After knight e4, Carlsen simply took and played bishop c4, so he's now lined up on f7. And also, you know, this pawn could become a little bit weak as well. So I think already black has made a slight inaccuracy. Queen e7. And Carlsen pushes the bishop and plays b4. So very, very straightforward play from Carlsen, preparing perhaps to bring the bishop to b2, but also the advanced b4 slightly squashes black's structure on the queen side. So already I think Magnus has a very comfortable position. And c6, well, yeah, he wants to gain more control over this square. You know, if he plays knight d5 blockading, then I suppose queen b3 is a bit annoying. So he plays c6. And queen c2, interesting, preventing the knight moving in many cases because the queen is attacking the e4 pawn. He could have played queen b3 as well. b5. Well, I think Magnus probably would have been very pleased to see these last two moves, because now black's structure looks very ugly indeed. And a5. Now, I'm going to just pause the game here and give you the chance to consider this position. Again, if you've seen the game already, then you know, don't bother making suggestions. But if you haven't, just think, what would you play in this position? When I was looking through this game, I have to say I was very, very surprised at Magnus's choice. So white play. So I'm inviting you to consider what Magnus would play in this position. White play, what would you do? Oh, it's all gone very quiet again. Okay. Well, if you play knight f7, then rook takes, and I don't see what benefits you've derived from that. It's interesting, we've got lots of different suggestions. We've got g4 suggested, knight takes c6, we've got h3. Guest informant says it's all the rage. Well, yeah, but it might be all the rage in some circles, but remember, if you people forget that pawns can't move backwards. I'm going to look at G4 because I think it's, well, it's the kind of move that's very easy to play, but it can go wrong very quickly. Remember, when you advance, sorry, not G4 in this position, G4 in this position, of course. When you play a move like G4, then your king is permanently weak. Well, okay, guest informed, you weren't entirely serious. I know, I understand. But the problem is the king is always exposed, but others suggest it as well. Okay, for example, knight d5. So now this pawn is kind of shooting in the air. And the whole point, I guess, is to take here. But then I take here. And, okay, let's chop that one off. Maybe drag a rook away. Bishop takes. This is not entirely clear. You know, I might even be able to poke the bishop down there, see what happens. You know, one day this queen could come out here. King is exposed. This is very, very difficult. But what I find interesting is that there have been, that in his position, you know, we haven't come to a consensus at all. Knight c6 also, well, indeed, we could just take a pawn, and of course, this should be the first move to consider. The problem is, in this position, I can take this. Now the rook is on prise in the corner. Now I'm just going to be very crafty. I'm going to play this and guard that pawn. And then, with a bit of luck, take on b4. And actually, once that knight has disappeared, then black's position starts to look much, much healthier. I still prefer white's position, actually. You know, this is a fantastic piece on b3. However, this position is really not so clear. So let's go back. Did we have any other suggestions? Yeah, we had, in fact, the move that Magnus played, Omkar Chakradeo suggests b takes a5. Well, I don't think this is ugly at all, because after this move, a4 comes, and we're just playing against this pawn here. So, for example, takes, I don't know, rook takes, or probably, and we're playing against this weak pawn. I think that's possible. Maybe that one. Maybe bishop takes, actually, because then we might have this move knight c4 in some positions. Guest informant says, I used your assessment of G4 type moves as an analogy for Wednesday's over-attacking against United. United won 4-2, playing in the wide open spaces against the dodgy defence. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Okay, I'm going to go back. So I think taking on a5 is interesting. Our Turkish friend was right all along. I can't remember his name. He suggested h3. This is the move that Magnus played. It's very interesting. You know, knight c6 possible, taking here possible, g4 possible, rook c1 possible, and h3 played by Magnus. This is just making sure that his king has a nice square on h2. Well done, Zia. Well done, Zia. Okay, so let's continue with the game. So black took here. And then took on b4. Magnus took here. Now, of course, rook takes is impossible because f7 is hanging, so bishop takes. And then rook a1. So now things are getting interesting. So Magnus has given up a pawn, but this bishop looks pretty bad. If bishop b7, well, we just continue with our initiative. So he played here. Right. What did Magnus do now? Over to you. It's white to play in this position. What did Magnus do next? If you know, don't bother. Nope, still didn't take on c6. If you take on c6 here, then I think that could be very good for black. Yeah, we got lots of suggestions for rook a8. Indeed, that's what Magnus played. Rook takes a8. Now it's interesting. He could have played knight takes, which is very strong. He went queen takes instead, but this did the biz. Two pieces threatened. Black has to play knight here, and Magnus crashed in. So Magnus is now the exchange down, but he has rather a beautiful position. So Magnus has 2 pawns and a bishop against a rook. And absolutely dominating knight, beautiful pawns. And his king, very important actually, his king is completely safe. If it wants to, it can just duck to h2. Rook f8 played. And now d5. This was an incredibly crafty move from Magnus. An incredibly crafty move. Jubair Sadiq says now h3 has meaning. Yes, it does have meaning. Once the position breaks open, then h3 definitely, you can see the purpose of the move, because white can basically carry on with his attack without worrying about some kind of back rank hit. d5, really crafty move from Magnus. Here, he took on f7. Knight takes, queen takes, and Magnus took on b4. There we go. That's the point of playing that one. And now knight d5. This is the game continuation. And queen b5. And then knight takes e3. So what's Magnus done? Has he reached a position where he's going to struggle to win with just 3 pawns against 2? What did Magnus do now? Has he taken leave of his senses? What's he played? We've got a couple of suggestions for bishop g7. You could play bishop g7 here. This is possible because if king takes, then you play queen e5 and take a knight. And if queen takes, then you play check here and then take a knight. Well done. In fact, Magnus played, he didn't play bishop g7, he played queen b8 first. Yes, well done to those of you suggesting queen b8. In fact, it makes no difference. Maybe black's queen is slightly worse off in this position. So well done to those of you suggesting queen b8 and bishop g7. There we go, queen e5. So Magnus, of course, had seen this way before. And in this position, well, they actually played on a few moves. Of course, it's completely winning for white with 2 extra pawns. King h2, that's a... Do you know what? King h2 is the kind of move that says, okay, it's time for you to resign. You know, I can take my time. My king is completely safe. But black didn't want to hear it. He played h5, queen here. And they played a couple more moves. Queen b8, king g7, and I think Magnus's opponent resigned here. He could have played on, but I think the problem for black is that, you know, in something like this, there's always a queen exchange will just kill the game. And this is no fun to play at all. You could play on. You could actually play on in this position. Still a little bit of work required. Maybe f5, and sooner or later you're going to be able to trade queens and come in here. But yeah, you could play on. Harry Kominos says, queen endgames are tricky. There's a sick game, Anand Topalov, which was drawn in a queen endgame 2 pawns up. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to play on a few moves, you may as well keep going for a bit. But I think it is, this one really is dead, you know. Something like here, and well, you could perhaps run your king up the board here, something like this, because sooner or later, as I said, you're going to be able to play queen e6 check, and that really is game over. Okay, let's come back and take a few questions before I show you something else. Let me see, how are we doing? Let me check the questions. Alan Managed asks, do you think Magnus saw all this when he played h3? Not when he played h3, no. But he will have seen this certainly when he... before he played d5, I would say. He will have seen that. Let's see. Let's Talk Cricket asks, Anish is not in the top 10 now. Being a world-class player, his performance has dipped, which suggests he's trying too much and trying to change his game. Do you agree? Well, if he wants to progress, then I think he has to develop his game because, of course, he's a fantastic player and his technique is very good. He plays wonderful positional chess, but it's quite clear that sometimes he's too risk-averse. And if he wants to develop, then he should play more adventurously and gamble a little bit more. So yeah, probably it will take some time for him to adjust to a new style, but he needs to develop his game if he wants to you know, try and make it to the top. Douglas Squirrel asks, thank you for asking, Douglas Squirrel, how is the Power Play Chess channel doing? Do you have enough patrons and ads to make it a going concern? At the moment, I could say that for the amount of time and energy we put into the channel, I would say it's breaking even, not more than that. So I would appeal anyone that feels they can afford it and would like to contribute to the channel. I'm just going to write out the address. Wait a second. Anyone that feels that they can afford to support us, even if it's just a few dollars a month, we would really appreciate it. And remember, according to how much you give, then there are rewards as well. And if you just want to make a one-off PayPal donation, then of course you can find that on the channel. Just click on the button, and we appreciate all donations. We really do. Douglas, thank you for mentioning that, and I really appreciate it. Dmitry Mikhailov asks, how's the weather in London? I am in London, that's where I live. The weather is beautiful. It's beautiful autumn weather, actually. So we have, September is often a very calm month in London. So it's still relatively warm. You know, at the moment it's like 18, 19 degrees centigrade. We're having nice sunny days, but also we start to have rain showers as well. Typical autumn. It's a very beautiful season in London. Logic Engine says, I hear that Power Play DVDs are an excellent gift idea. Is this true? This is beautiful. This is like in tennis when someone lobs up the ball and I'm able to smash it into the corner. Thank you, Logic Engine. They are a wonderful gift idea. So do check out the Power Play Chess videos as well. You can find, or DVDs, you can find those on ChessBase online shop. And yes, they are good value. Tiomir, it does count. Thank you very much. Guest informant, thank you very much for that. Boy Jaffa asks, what do I think about Levon Aronian's latest performance? How do you judge his chances? Yeah, I find Levon a really entertaining player, very exciting player, and I think a very unusual player. You know, for example, the way he plays the Reti and the Catalan and D4 openings that traditionally, you know, very often are maybe more technical, and he plays very creatively in the opening, very adventurously. But also, you know, he's a fantastic endgame player as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Levon, and I like him personally as well. He's a very nice guy. He's an unusual player, an unusual person as well, I think. You know, he likes jazz music. That's good. I like that. He said one of his favorite musicians is John Coltrane. I like that. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a very thoughtful guy. He's his own man, and he's also very respectful as well. And he thanks the people around him. I like that. So yes. What are his chances in the candidates? I think they're pretty good, actually. You have to say he must be one of the favourites given his current form. You know, this year he won, seems to be in a really good patch. He won the Grenka, he won Norway Chess, he came first in St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. He's playing well. Let me see. Wilson Nino, hi there from in Lewis, Delaware. Sushan Acharya asks, is Power Play 26 DVD coming soon? It is going to be coming soon. I'm going to Hamburg in Germany in about a week's time, 10 days time, and I'll be recording the latest Power Play DVD, which is going to be on checkmates, the art of checkmates. I'm looking forward to doing that. So yeah, look out for that. What about people are asking me about Kasparov. What do I think? Kasparov's return. Well, okay, Kasparov, to be honest, I don't think this was a comeback, really. He played in a Blitz and Rapid event, and I think he did about as well as to be expected. But it's not a real comeback. A real comeback would be him playing in classical events. It's a kind of one-off, and he can't stay away. He loves the publicity. You know, to be honest, I was almost kind of disappointed that he played. It was interesting, but he should just leave it there. You know, if you're going to come back, you do it properly. But just a kind of one-off, I don't know. Douglas Squirrel asks, what's involved in making a DVD? Do you write a script and read it to camera? I don't write a script, no. I plan it very, very carefully, however. I plan the positions very carefully. I structure the DVD very carefully. Well, I write an introduction, and I know roughly what I want to say. I mean, I don't learn it by heart, but I plan roughly what I want to say, because I've structured the DVD very, very carefully. So it's very clear in my mind what I want to say. But no, I do not write a script at all. But I do structure the DVDs very, very carefully. And I hope that shows. Zia says, that's a bit cold. He loves publicity. Well, he does. You can't deny that. He just can't stay away from the limelight. It was interesting. You know, it was interesting. But, yeah, don't know. I feel in two minds about it, as you can tell. Wilson Nino asks, are my DVDs for lower rated players? I would say they could be for any player right up to sort of 2200. You can get something out of it. Maybe I know 2300, 2400 players that also use my DVDs as well. That's probably the limit, but yeah, absolutely, they're for lower rated players. Let's just say club players, you know. But the opening videos, I know strong players who use them, use my recommendations. I think I've yacked too much. Let me, before I go, I need to look at another game of Magnus's. So just bear in mind while I just get another game on the board. I'm going to have to probably race through this. So just bear with me while I just switch boards. Okay, here we go. I'm going to have to race through this game. So this was, because I'm running out of time, this was Magnus against Jeffrey Liang, who is a talented American junior player. And Magnus plays this kind of Torre system, obviously closely related to the London system. And here, well, it's funny, as soon as somebody starts playing A6 in this kind of opening, I just think, what a waste of time. Just looks weird to me. You know, you'd just be bringing out your pieces. I mean, I actually quite like the move G5 here. So take and play G5 and knight H5. And just to sack that bishop. I mean, some people would sort of have qualms about advancing the pawn to G5. But I think when you play this kind of, against this kind of opening, I think it's very important to cut across your opponent's plans, and G5 does that, because I think, you know, White has a very kind of automatic way of playing this position, and that's why I like moves like G5, because they're actually quite sound, but they prevent White from playing his standard plan, and that confuses a lot of people. Okay, on with the game. But yeah, I have to say, as soon as Liang played this, I thought, okay, this isn't up to much. This looks very poor to me. Okay, now he's developing. Knight D7. Okay, going backwards. So I think Magnus would have been absolutely delighted with the way the opening turned out. It doesn't look right to me. Zia asks, would I play C4 instead of A6? Well, no, I would play takes and G5. C4 would be premature. You have to be very careful when you push this pawn, because, for example, here, B3, well, this structure is simply best for White. Semi-open file, more pawns in the center, and if B5, you can undermine this pawn very easily with A4. So no, I wouldn't play C4. But A6 I don't like. I'm going to have to rush through this. It's a complex game, but and Magnus played knight e5, which is the standard move in this kind of opening. But actually, I think knight e5 was a mistake. I think he should have just played e4. because white's development is very, very harmonious, very natural. Whereas look at black. I mean, you know, this looks very ugly to me. There's actually a problem with knight e5. What should Xiong play here? Knight h5 was possible on Car, but anyway, I'm asking about this position. What should black play here? Any suggestions, guys? Jubair Sadiq says, knight, yes. And now what? Nope, nope, nope. Yeah, take it. We're there. But what's the follow-up? This is important. Boy Jaffa says 95 looks logical. However, f4 can be hard to meet. Yes. Well, if black just castles here, then f4 is just gives white what he wants. So yeah, not so great. But the point is this. Knight c6, yes, this is not d4 here. I don't like d4 because after takes, then the c4 pawn d5 and now knight e4 is very pleasant for white. Knight c6 is a good move here. And here's the reason. This pawn is attacked. If the natural move f4, then simply c4 here is strong, and it's for tactical reasons because you have queen b6 attacking these pawns, and well, black just wins a pawn for nothing. I think Magnus here attacking a pawn, but after queen g5, well, that forces a trade of queens. Now white can save this pawn, but I don't think black is in any way worse in this position. Maybe even king e7, just holding the tension. Black is fine there. So yeah, I mean, I was actually very surprised the way Xiong played it here. He took on d4 and only then took on e5. Anton says white is better. No, white was not better. In that position, black was better. Now white is better because we have transposed to a kind of French position where white has control over d4. It's got a nice pawn on e5, nice bishop here. This is basically a favorable French position. Okay, let's see how the game developed. Yeah, Carlsen manages to develop a nice initiative on the king side just by advancing his h-pawn. Now, yeah, if castles, then yeah, just h5 cramping. But this move b4, well, Magnus could just take this, but instead he played a4. I'm going to have to rush through this, guys. I'm sorry. This game deserves closer scrutiny. But for example, you could just take here. I'm kind of surprised that Magnus didn't, but still, a4 certainly isn't a bad move. And now black does actually have some counterplay with the rook coming in here. Anyhow, I'm gonna rush on. Bishop b5. I'm surprised that Magnus didn't do this. Because after bishop takes, you play queen takes, and you play pawn takes, and knight d4 holds that pawn. It's also very, very pleasant. But no, Magnus was determined to attack on the king side. Just played g4. He's playing with a very free hand. It's very interesting. But this is actually a little bit unclear. In this position, if black had played knight f5, again, you know, maybe the advance of the g-pawn is the theme of the day. this is very risky. Black has quite serious counterplay in this position. But instead, well, I imagine Xiong was short of time. And now Magnus has a very, very serious attack. And this is a beautiful move, e6, because, I mean, still looks as though Black is here and the queen defending here, but after e6, this makes life very, very difficult for Black. I mean, if pawn takes, then you could play, let me see, maybe just h6. Maybe knight e5 first, probably. Yeah, knight e5 first. Hit the bishop and then h6 and just blows up Black's position. One of these moves, or maybe h6 first. Yeah, h6 first actually, because then a piece can't defend here. Must be winning. So Xiong played bishop takes e6, h6, and now Black's king is in big trouble. Crafty move, very crafty move. Now queen d8 still isn't so clear. I mean, probably White has a big attack here, but it's still not so clear. But yeah, short of time, very difficult to defend. Xiong came back again, but this was lost immediately. Queen h6. And now a winning move. Okay, I rushed through that. Who would like to suggest Magnus's winning move here? It's all gone quiet again. White's play. What did Magnus do next? Onkar Chakradeo suggests king h1. That was indeed the move. And here, Black resigned. Simple winning move. As rook g1 is happening. And that is the end of the game. Good stuff. I think, to be honest, I think Magnus gambled somewhat in that game. Would he have just rushed forward with g4, g5 against maybe slightly stronger players? I don't know, because those moves on the queen side, he could have taken that pawn on b4. But in this tournament, he seems to be playing with a very free hand. He's very, very liberated in the way he's playing at the moment, and I like that. It's good to see. Okay, folks, I think I'm going to leave it there. There's going to be more stuff coming on the Power Play Chess channel over the next few weeks. To be honest, I'm not quite sure what. I might have a little vote among my patrons to decide what they would like to see over the next month or so. But anyway, there will be more videos appearing, and there'll be another hangout as usual next month, October. Sorry this one was a bit late. I'm sure you'd appreciate I have been rather busy with all the World Cup videos and reports, which was, I found it a really entertaining tournament. So anyway, thanks very much for tuning in, all the guys that who join me on the live chat. Nice questions, and yeah, enjoy your weekend. Bye now.